Previously on Ravens Over Everything.
But take it back to Roquan Smith and the hypocrisy of this, of what I believe is the hypocrisy of this move is, are the Ravens ready to pay Roquan Smith? Because a lot of people keep telling me that we shouldn't go out and get a receiver because, this is going to cost too much, that's going to cost too much. Listen, Roquan Smith is a 25-year-old stud at linebacker who is one of the best linebackers in the entire NFL right now. He's leading the league in tackles. Even if he comes to the Ravens and doesn't do anything for the rest of the year, he's still going to demand $20 to $25 million next year. Are you ready to pay that? Are you ready to pay that? And knowing how the Ravens are, ironically enough, they probably would be ready to pay that.
So I put that video out. The video I'm referring to is the video where I said the Roquan Smith trade was a good but hypocritical move. I put that out. It's been over 2 months now. Let me check the exact date. I posted that video. I'm checking the exact date now. So I posted that video. It's not saying the exact date, but yeah, it is November 6th, 2022. And that was a snippet from that video where I predicted this happening because this was obvious. It doesn't make me or anybody else a genius for being able to predict what was coming. But as the title to this video has informed you all, which I'm sure you all have heard already, the Ravens have extended Roquan Smith. It's a 5-year, $100 million deal. They're saying, on one hand, they're saying 45 million guaranteed, but then they're also saying that it's a total of 60 million guaranteed, which I don't know exactly what's the difference. If one of you know, let me know in the comments, because that sounds kind of weird, but still, nonetheless, 60 million total dollars guaranteed out of 100 million. I don't know the details of his contract. None of you do either, most likely. So those incentives that aren't guaranteed, I don't know if those are going to be easy incentives to reach. Like, are they going to be like super easy or super difficult? Is it going to be some like super simple stuff where they just want him to get 50 to 100 tackles in a season, and then next thing you know he got it? Because obviously someone who's as good as Roquan, he could easily get to those numbers. Or is it going to be like some out of this world, extremely unlikely scenario that he's not gonna be able to achieve in order to get the rest of that money? I don't know exactly. I have no idea. I'm not sure if the actual details of his contract have come out as of yet. Maybe I'm sure they will eventually, or maybe they will eventually. We may never get it, but still, it's very interesting to see people's reaction. Because on one hand, you have a lot of people who are pretty much looking at this as the greatest thing that's ever happened. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Oh my man, our problems are solved. Jesus has answered our calls. And then you have other people on the other side of that who are just like, oh my gosh, it's confirmed. They're about to franchise tag and trade Lamar. They've made their decision. They've made their line in the sand. Me, I'm in the middle, obviously, because again, even in that video that I played at the beginning of the clip, what did I say in that title? I said, look, I think them getting Roquan, yeah, it's a good move on paper, but it's a very hypocritical move. Why? Because a guy like Roquan Smith, he's 25 years old. He's elite at his job. He's one of the best people at his position, regardless of age, and he is still in his physical prime. And his contract is up. Of course, just like I said in the video, of course he was gonna demand $20 to $25 million. What else did you think was gonna happen? But that's why I said it was a hypocritical move, because whenever it's time for people like me and like Lunch Break Hot Taking and Graven and who else Sip to Tally Films, like, Keeping It Real, all these people, whenever people like us say, hey, listen, you gotta actually put this much effort in actually investing in offense, the first thing we hear is dumbass Ravens fans trying to tell us that you don't need to spend that type of money on a receiver because, where we gonna get the money from? Where we gonna get it from, man? How in the world are we gonna afford it? We can't afford it. That's the first thing they say. They say, we can't afford it, and they say, who is available? Which, again, those are two very flawed arguments, obviously, because when you look at the past 5 years, damn near every quality receiver was available. The Ravens were just too cheap and didn't want them. And then y'all claim that we don't have the money for it, but when it's time to have the money to pay somebody like Roquan Smith, magically it works out. It's not rocket. Listen, I obviously, just like many of you, I don't know the inner workings of how teams work around the cap. But one thing I am positive of is that whoever is in control of the Ravens cap does not do a good job. Because again, when it's time to talk about investing in offense, y'all want to come through with these BS excuses about how there's no money to do it. There's always money to do it. Cut some of these players on defense. I don't care who it is. Cut them. Listen, I like Marcus Peters. Cut them. Whoever. Cut them. Cut these people. Cut these people. Because at the end of the day, when it's time to win, you're not looking at defense. I'm going to keep saying this till I'm blue in the face because it's a fact. Just a few days ago, I just posted a video saying, hey, fire Harbaugh and all, the rest of those bums in that coaching staff. And what was the point I was making? The same point I made a few months ago in this Roquan Smith video, which is when it's time to win, as good as Roquan Smith is as an individual, as good as he is as an individual, and as good as several of the players on our defense are, you can't rely on these guys to win. It's 2022. It is not 2000. Ray Lewis ain't coming back. I don't care how many of y'all keep having wet dreams about it. You weirdos. I don't care how many of y'all keep having wet dreams about Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and Haloti Ngata and everybody else, man. Elvis Dumerville, Terrell Suggs. Y'all keep having these fantasies. Y'all keep drooling over these fantasies that one day the 2000 Ravens or the 2000s Ravens, from any time in that era, you keep dreaming that one day it's gonna come back. It's not coming back, man. I know my delivery in many of these videos comes off as very rude, but it's not because I'm trying to be rude, but it's just because there's certain people out there where in order for them to get the point, in order for it to get through their thick heads, their thick stubborn heads, you got to just start talking to them very bluntly. Like, you can't, that's why I keep making these points. Because again, even in that Steelers game last week that we lost, who was the game-winning touchdown scored on? Roquan Smith. As good as he is, when you needed him most, you couldn't rely on him. As good as he is, he's not the X factor on this team. Nobody on defense is. Respectfully, I'm not trying to be mean, but this is reality. When it's time to talk about who the real X players are, nobody on that defense is. Marlon Humphrey is great. I'm happy that he's had a bounce back season considering how bad of a season he was having last year before he got injured. But still, even as good as Marlo is, all pro level, still not an X factor. Roquan ain't. That 14th pick that they spent on Kyle Hamilton, he is not. Odafe Owe, he is not. Justin Houston, he is not. Calais Campbell, he is not. None of these guys are. The X factor on this team is Lamar Jackson. Y'all could fight that all you want. But again, when it's time to win these games, y'all are sitting here mad every week that we keep blowing these leads. Y'all are mad every week that we can't beat the Bengals and we can't beat the Steelers and we can't beat this and that team and blah, blah, blah. But yet some of y'all still want to pretend like Lamar Jackson isn't the true X factor on this team. And again, y'all could deny it all y'all want, but the proof is in the pudding. Since Lamar has gone out, we haven't even scored 17 points. Forget about 20 points. We haven't even reached 17. We scored, what did we score? We scored 16, we scored 10, we scored 14, and we scored 3. Those are the scores we've had since Lamar has gone out. This team, again, looks pathetic. Doesn't matter that the defense is solid. So again, I'm not saying I know many of you are big fans of defense, obviously. Look, I can understand where you're coming from. The whole reason I became a Ravens fan back in it's been so long. I think it was like 08 or 09 or whatever. Like back when I was in like middle school, back in the 2000s, the whole reason I became a fan was because my two favorite players as a kid were Ray Lewis and Terrell Owens. I didn't want to root for any of the teams Terrell Owens was on. I think at the time he was on like the Cowboys or whatever. I didn't want to root for them, so I just decided to go with the Ravens, and that's where I've been ever since. So obviously I too used to love defense just as much as many of you did, but at a certain point I had to adapt. At a certain point, I had to realize that things have changed. At a certain point, I had to realize that we can't stay stuck in the same state of mind that we had 10, 15 years ago. Like I said, when I became a fan of Ray Lewis and the Ravens, dude, I was in middle school, bruh. Dude, I'm 26 years old. I turned 27 this year, dog. It's been a long time. You gotta let this go. A lot of y'all don't want to let it go. Y'all need an intervention. I might need to make that a separate video. Ravens fans need an intervention. Like, my goodness. Like, just, am I surprised they signed Roquan Smith? No. I called it 2 months ago that they were going to extend him and want to pay him $20 million a year. But my whole thing is, are they planning on doing something on offense? Something for real, not this bullshit they've been pretending like they're gonna do for the past several years. How that Deshaun Jackson signing work out? A lot of y'all were saying Deshaun was about to go off. Deshaun did not go off. I'm doing a separate video on that. Embarrassing. And I'm not even putting it all on Deshaun, but that speaks to the bigger issue with this offense. It sucks. Listen, I gotta breathe. Listen, this offense is still garbage. I like Roquan Smith a lot. I have nothing against Roquan Smith. I think Roquan Smith has motivated Patrick Queen to try to play better. Even though, contrary to what many of y'all say in the Ravens flock, Patrick Queen isn't that bad. But Ravens fans are very spoiled. I'm going to call it what it is. Ravens fans, when it comes to defense, specifically linebacker, Ravens fans spent the past several decades watching somebody like Ray Lewis play every week. So in their heads, all they know is GOAT. That's all they know. GOAT. All we watched was the GOAT. We watched the GOAT. We got to see the GOAT. So when you see linebackers come after Ray Lewis, especially one like Patrick Queen, who has a lot of blunders, to put it lightly, a lot of brain fart moments, to put it lightly, a lot of people just hate him. But again, that goes into my issue about offense. That same year we got Patrick Queen, we could have drafted T. Higgins. And guess what? T. Higgins hit the ground running. From the moment he went to Cincinnati, he hit the ground running. Even in his rookie year when Joe Burrow didn't even play because Joe Burrow got injured early, he hit the ground running. Patrick Queen, not so much, man. He's not terrible, but he's had a lot of blunders here and there. And I do think Roquan coming to this team has helped him a lot. It does seem like, even though he still has blunders, he is starting to feel pressure to step his game up and play to the potential we thought he could. Well, not we, but to the potential the Ravens thought he could be at. So yeah, the last couple videos I've been rambling a lot, but there's just so much I want to say, and and a lot of times with these videos I don't even like write down what I'm gonna say. Sometimes I do, obviously, to actually look at the stats. Obviously, like for example, I was looking at Roquan's stats since he came to the Ravens. Since he came to us, he had 51 solo tackles, 2 sacks, an interception. In totality of this season altogether, he's tied for third in the NFL in sacks with 103 sacks and 103 tackles and 4.5 sacks. Obviously, he's at an all-pro level. That's not a surprise. But again, I gotta get back to the main point, which is this offense is garbage. And signing a Roquan Smith to a deal that, at least on paper, looks very lucrative. I don't know if they can manipulate it to where they could still, actually make moves on offense. I hope they can. That's what I'm hoping for. That's why when I said early in the video, there's people on two different sides. The people who are only focused on defense, who think, yay, this is the greatest thing ever, and then people on the other side who think it's a guarantee that we're going to lose Lamar. I'm trying to stay in the middle, because ideally I would want them to keep Lamar. If they want to keep Roquan on this deal too, that's fine, but my whole thing is you need to make a big move you need to make several big moves on offense. You need to fire this coaching staff. You need to get Greg Roman, get John Harbaugh, get all these people out of here. Bring in some offense, some people who are actually competent on offense. Bring them in. Go sign some decent receivers. Not better than decent. Go sign some X Factor type of receivers. And then even then, go spend your first round draft pick on the best receiver you can get your hands on. And also spend a couple other picks in that draft, or some signings in the offseason, trying to build a better O-line. I'm not saying our O-line is terrible. I think our O-line is better than it was last year, but at times, to me, this O-line still looks shaky. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, this O-line still looks shaky. That's what I would like to see happen, because obviously I want to see Lamar play here the rest of his career. I don't. But again, when you see, part of the issue I was having with the Roquan Smith trade a few months ago was, knowing the Ravens' tendencies, they might choose defense over Lamar. Even though, ironically enough, and you see it with the Eagles, you could very easily, not easily, but you could very simply build a well-rounded team. But the Ravens don't believe in that, and neither do Ravens fans. Half of the Ravens flock, their perception of a well-rounded team is a team that's super loaded on defense, and then an offense that is extremely bad. To them, that's a well-rounded team. And the proof is in the pudding, because as much as people talk about the 2000s Ravens and those Ravens teams of back in the day, nobody likes talking about how those offenses were completely garbage. Nobody likes talking about it. As a matter of fact, a lot of Ravens fans, they view that as a badge of honor. Like, yeah, they know, the Ravens know what they're doing. You got to build a defense and run the ball. We don't need Lamar. We won with Trent Dilfer 22 years ago. He was bad. Try to play with the quarterback as bad as Trent Dilfer in 2022 and let me know how that works. Oh yeah, that's right. We watched Anthony Brown. We watched Tyler Huntley. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Y'all know where I want to go with this. Just looking at Lamar's backups, I know for a fact if Lamar left this team, next year this team at best would win 5 games. Y'all can argue with me all you want. I'm not arguing back. I wish everybody the best. Let me know what your thoughts are on this Roquan Smith trade. Again, personally, I'm still on the fence about it. Obviously, I don't think it's a bad thing to want a player like Roquan, but my issue is you need to take this same effort and the same sense of urgency that you put into defense for all these years. You need to shift that to the offense, because regardless of what many of y'all think, this team ain't going nowhere with those bums on offense. You can't rely on Lamar and Justin Tucker to save the day forever, especially if they don't want to pay Lamar. Because unfortunately, we might see a future where Lamar's playing on a different team, balling out. Meanwhile, we're sitting here 5-11, 5-12, 6-11, 7-10. We might be that team that has those type of records for the next 5-10 years if they drop the ball on this. But again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'm done.